It looked like Stephanie White is turning some heads after a recent interview, guys, for this one here.
It appears Stephanie White just dropped a bombshell on the WNBA. With her latest interview, the Indiana Fever's coach finally gave voice to what fans have been shouting for months, and she delivered the message with enough force for the entire league to feel the shockwave. After staying quiet all season, she just defended Caitlin Clark and put the league's entire structure on notice. Yes, it took a long time, but the silence is officially broken. Do you think this will actually lead to any change? At first, the only thing people grabbed was the soundbite where she called Caitlin a pawn, and that line went viral. But if you listen to the full context, her critique was far more profound. She didn't just shield Caitlin Clark, she launched an assault on the WNBA's entire power dynamic, from its leadership right down to the conduct between players. Let's set the stage. This past season was a gauntlet of chaos for the Indiana Fever.
And it is Stephanie White talking about Caitlin Clark being brought up in a lot of these conversations in CBA by other people, and not her speaking herself. And I think this is a really interesting one. And it's clear from this answer, I've already listened to this, it's very clear from this answer that Stephanie White clearly, and Caitlin Clark, there's clearly a level of person, like, they clearly really like each other as people.
A relentless cycle of injuries, roster moves, and non-stop drama orbiting Caitlin Clark, all while the media used her fame to inflate their metrics. And through it all, Stephanie White coached her team, navigating the storm without saying a word, and her message is precisely what the league's key figures needed to confront. When asked about how Caitlin Clark was being treated by refs, players, and media, Stephanie was brutally honest. She stated, unequivocally, "I hate it all for Caitlin." Those words carry immense weight coming from her coach. She's the one who's witnessed it all up close. The cheap shots, the verbal sparring, the bizarre animosity from peers, and the media twisting every single thing she does. And Stephanie finally put it all out in the open. White said Caitlin has been turned into a pawn in other people's games. And that single statement explains everything, because it's the undeniable truth. Every week, Caitlin Clark is unwillingly dragged into another issue, from manufactured feuds to media narratives about league solidarity. One moment she's the future of the sport. The next she's a symbol of privilege. And through it all, she just wants to play basketball. Stephanie White finally said what everyone was thinking.
Stepping up to the plate, saying what it is. These people are using Caitlin Clark. They're disrespecting, and we can't allow it.
That Caitlin is caught in the crossfire of the WNBA's own painful maturation. Now you know how I do this. Let's dissect what White was truly getting at. The WNBA is in a golden era of visibility. You have skyrocketing ratings, sold-out arenas, a flood of endorsement money, and constant headlines. But beneath this shiny surface, there's a deep-seated tension. Players are pushing for better pay, more respect, and stronger leadership, all valid concerns. But instead of uniting, a significant portion has decided Caitlin Clark is the problem. She's become the scapegoat for the pay gap, the focus of media attention, and even the target of fan criticism. And what was Stephanie White's response? Essentially, you're all aiming at the wrong target. She said, we're at a pivotal moment in the league's history. Translation, if you continue to use Caitlin as a human shield instead of addressing systemic flaws, you're going to self-destruct. And she's absolutely right again.
And then Caitlin Clark kind of getting brought into that, Caitlin Clark responding to it. What has been your overall assessment of that dialogue and as it relates to your star player?
Yeah, I mean, I hate it all for Caitlin. I feel like, she's a 23-year-old kid who loves to play this game, who is a pawn in a lot of other people's games and a lot of other people's narratives, and I hate that for her. We're coming into a time in the WNBA where we're kind of part of the growing pains of becoming quote unquote mainstream professional sport is some of this stuff.
Let's not forget, Stephanie White isn't some newcomer. She's been a part of the WNBA since its founding. She competed in it. She's coached in it. She's lived through every version of this league, from the lean years of the early 2000s to today's high-stakes drama. So when she speaks on leadership, she knows exactly what she's talking about. She said the league needs leadership that is in touch with the present moment. That isn't just a subtle critique of Kathy Engelbert, it's a direct hit. Because if you've been paying attention, Kathy has been a ghost during nearly every major controversy this year, from players attacking each other online, to officials missing blatant fouls. To fans protesting the treatment of Caitlyn, Kathy offers nothing. Meanwhile, Stephanie White is doing her job, protecting her player, and holding her team together. It's wild that it took this long for someone with actual power in the league to voice what fans have been saying since day one. Caitlyn Clark isn't the issue.
You know, I do think that we are at a pivotal moment in terms of the league's history. And look, I was a part of the very first collective bargaining agreement of the WNBA, where we wanted insurance all year long, to now where it is growing and players do deserve more. And leadership needs to reflect where we are as a league, and also understand where we are as a league and where players' perspectives are coming from. And, you know, we have coaches on the sidelines, and Becky Hammond and myself, and of course Noelle Quinn, who was in Seattle, who played in this league.
The issue is the league's failure to properly manage her arrival. Now, about that pawn comment, the one that ignited the internet. White said Caitlyn has become a pawn in other people's games and narratives. And if you analyze it, she's not wrong. Players like Nafisa Collier and others have used Caitlyn's platform to air their own grievances. Media outlets distort her quotes for clicks. Even fans have been split into warring factions. Team Caitlyn versus Team everybody else. It's exhausting. And the worst part, Caitlyn Clark never asked to be in this position. She didn't start any of this. She isn't on social media trading insults or complaining about her role. She just shows up and plays. But because of her massive popularity, everyone around her is trying to co-opt her spotlight. You have players making her the symbol of league inequality, execs using her as a marketing machine, and media outlets turning her every action into a referendum. And Stephanie White called out every single one of them. She essentially said, "You're all playing politics while she's trying to play a sport." That's why this interview exploded. White didn't just defend her player. She exposed how transactional and disingenuous many people in the WNBA are currently acting. To be clear, White named no one. She didn't call out Nafisa Collier directly or mention Kathy Engelbert. But everyone understood who she meant. The timing was unmistakable. Remember just a few days ago, when Collier claimed Kathy Engelbert told her Caitlyn should be grateful for her off-court income. Yes, that one. The story went nuclear. And instead of a statement from the league, we got complete silence. Then here comes Stephanie White, saying leadership needs to understand the players' perspectives. That's a coach's way of saying the commissioner is disconnected. White is arguing the league is run by people who don't grasp the modern player or the new fan base that Caitlyn Clark brought in. You can't sell growing the game as your motto while letting your biggest attraction get assaulted on the court and then blamed for every issue in women's basketball. And what's smart is, White didn't just focus on Caitlyn's problems. She used her own team as a positive example. She said, "Connected teams are winning teams." That wasn't just a comment about the Fever's locker room. It was a message to the entire WNBA. Because right now, the league is fragmented. It's split between established stars and newcomers, between the front office and the players, between fans who want growth and those who want to gatekeep. And Stephanie White finally stood up and said, "No more." She praised her players for their unity in the face of chaos. A subtle implication that other teams are failing at this. And let's be honest, she's right again. The Aces have immense talent, but are a constant source of drama. The Liberty have stars, but lack synergy. The Fever, they were decimated by injuries and still performed like a cohesive unit. That is the result of coaching. That is culture. And that is what Stephanie White has fostered. So when she talks about unity, people need to pay attention. But of course the internet couldn't handle the nuance. The second she said pawn, people rushed to judgment. Some said she was belittling Caitlyn. Others said she was protecting her. Here's the reality. She was doing both. She was condemning the predatory system, using Caitlyn, while also acknowledging the incredible weight that has been placed on her. She wasn't blaming Caitlyn. She was defending her. And that is the difference between a real leader and a corporate figurehead. White cares about her people. Kathy cares about press statements. So now fans see Stephanie White as someone with actual courage. Because all year, coaches were silent or gave the same robotic answers. Caitlyn's adjusting, she's learning. She'll get there. Meanwhile, the kid is getting physically hammered every game, and then told to be thankful for it. White is the first to say publicly, enough. She basically told the whole league to stop using her player as a scapegoat for their own failure. You could hear the exhaustion in her voice. This wasn't a calculated media play. She wasn't trying to. She was tired of seeing her player blamed for the league's systemic problems. And what makes this even more significant is how it shifts Caitlyn's narrative. For the first time in months, someone from inside the WNBA establishment, not a fan, not a retired player, not an analyst, publicly had her back. That changes everything, because when your own coach says the league is mistreating you, the accountability moves upward. It falls squarely on Engelbert's desk. It demands an official response from the WNBA, but of course Kathy won't. She'll probably say something vague about growth while ignoring the very real division everyone else sees. And that's what makes Stephanie's comments so crucial. Because she's not just defending Caitlyn, she's defending the league's future. If the WNBA allows jealousy and mismanagement to rule, the new fans who made this season historic will walk away. People don't follow dysfunction. They follow compelling stories, effort, and integrity. And that's what Stephanie White is fighting for. The instant that interview went live, Fever fans celebrated. You could almost hear the collective sigh of relief. Finally, someone in a position of authority defended Caitlin Clark, and not just anyone. Her coach, the same woman who's been managing injuries, media chaos, and that suffocating microscope from day one. Social media ignited. One comment read, "Stephanie White just said what Kathy Engelbert's been too scared to say all year." Another wrote, "She's the first one to actually defend Caitlyn instead of using her for clout." And that's exactly what this feels like. A genuine turning point. Because this was about more than just basketball. It was about respect. For months, Caitlyn's been getting cheap-shotted on the court, criticized by players off it, and used in headlines she had nothing to do with. And every time the league just looked away. But now, Stephanie White just made their silence look cowardly. She told the truth. Caitlin Clark has been treated unfairly. She has been turned into a pawn. And the WNBA has lost control of its own story. You could tell by the awkward reactions after this aired. Some players posted vague messages about unity. Translation: they knew White struck a nerve. Even analysts who were critical of Caitlyn changed their tune, calling White's comments honest and long overdue. It's crazy how one coach doing the right thing can make the entire league look incompetent. And honestly, this is classic Stephanie White. She's been fighting these battles since she was a player.